Back in 1984, a movie hit theaters that was pretty much lightning in a bottle. It was this perfect, one of a kind film that mixed horror, comedy, and sci fi into something that was totally new, led by four guys who felt like your very weird, hilarious, and shockingly capable uncles. And then in 2016, Hollywood decided that they wanted to try and capture that same lightning all over again. But what happens when you copy all the notes but completely lose the music? Well, today we're finding out. This is the Ghostbusters Remake Rumble, where we're going to pit the 1984 classic against the 2016 reboot in a no holds barred movie showdown. You know how it goes. We're going to break this down round by round, how the remakes attempt to just carbon copy iconic scenes left us with a film that was missing the original's charm, chemistry, and soul. Let's get into it. Here in this first round, let's talk a little bit about the blueprint, if you will. Every fight needs a ring, but for this Rumble, the ring itself is our first problem. The 2016 remake doesn't just borrow from the original, it traces the entire plot almost exactly, which just screams lack of confidence. Both films follow the same narrative path. It kicks off with a spooky cold open where some unseen ghost attacks a person in a historic building, a library in the 1984 film, and a museum in the 2016 reboot. A crew of paranormal researchers get fired by a stuffy academic, forcing them to go into this business for themselves. They build their ghost catching gear, test it out in an alley, and score their first big bust at a hotel fighting a gluttonous green ghost. They get a pat on the back from the officials in private, but are publicly called frauds to keep everyone from panicking. And all of this leads up to a city swarming with ghosts, a demonic portal that's ripping open over a skyscraper, and one last rooftop battle to save the world. While the original used this structure to build a world, the remake just treats it like a checklist. This copy-paste approach is the movie's first huge mistake, because it sets up a direct comparison that the new film is almost destined to lose, making it feel a whole hell of a lot less like a fresh take and more like an expensive parody of a movie that we already know and love. The whole foundation is a mimic, and it is shaky from the get-go. Getting into our second round, let's talk a little bit about the team. A Ghostbusters movie lives and dies by its team, and the magic of the 1984 film was its irreplaceable chemistry. The original guys, Venkman, Stantz, Spengler, and Zeddemore, felt like a real crew whose banter was built on actual friendship. Their dynamic felt natural, and it really grounded the movie's wild concepts in reality. The 2016 film, however, brings together very talented comedians who never quite gel as a believable team. Their interactions often feel forced, almost like a series of disconnected improv sketches rather than genuine camaraderie. Instead of the original's smart guys who happen to be funny, the new team's dynamic feels chaotic and their jokes often fall flat, undercutting that chemistry that a Ghostbusters movie needs to succeed. It is a textbook case of lightning in a bottle magic versus a forced friendship. Getting here into the third point, discussing the comedy of these movies. The difference in humor between these two movies is night and day. The 1984 Ghostbusters is a masterclass in dry, sarcastic, character-based comedy. It's a movie that plays its insane situations with a totally straight face, which makes everything funnier. Think about when Janine asks Aegon about his hobbies, and he kind of just deadpans.
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
It is a 4-second line that tells you everything that you need to know about him. Or even think about Venkman's casual remark about carrying an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back.
We really haven't had a completely successful test of this equipment.
Why worry? Each of us is wearing an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back.
The laughs come from the characters and how they are reacting to this madness. We don't really have that in the new one because the 2016 remake chucks that subtly right out of the window. And they do it for loud, over-the-top, slapstick style gags.
We are late. Get in here.
Not you,
Aaron. Aaron, please get in.
This is not the time.
Oh, we have fun.
Where the original's proton pack explanation was a quick, witty moment, the remake drags it out into this long-winded gag reel of physical comedy. The alley scene when they first test out their packs is another perfect example. The original holds the camera steady, letting you soak in the actors' hilarious reactions. The remake, though, uses this frantic editing style and loud noises, choosing noise over nuance. It feels like it's begging you to laugh, a problem that's a little bit worse when you think about the editing in itself. The original's comedy was a scalpel. The remakes is like a sledgehammer. Let's talk about the threat, because I think that this is actually a big one when comparing these two. You've heard it before, but a hero is only as good as their villain. And in this round, it's not even a fair fight, in my opinion, because the 1984 film gave us Gozer the Gozerian, an ancient world-ending god. Gozer is genuinely intimidating, with a whole mythology and a sense of cosmic dread built up over the movie. The scene where Zul possesses Dana and she levitates over the bed, I think is a perfect example of a great mix of real scares, amazing practical effects, and character tension. Gozer, to me, feels like a god-level threat, which gives that finale some serious weight. Now, the remake gives us Rowan North, a bitter hotel janitor with a grudge. He's basically a bully who felt wronged by the world, driven by petty revenge instead of cosmic domination. The movie tries to build some mystery around him, but he never feels menacing. His plan feels really small, his motives are weak, and his final giant form, a roided out version of the No Ghost logo, is way more goofy than it is scary. And you can make the argument that the Ghostbusters was never really scary, but those original two had a lot more genuine attempts at hitting that horror mark than this remake did. Gozer was a primal force of destruction. Rowan is a man-child throwing a supernatural tantrum. The stakes never feel that high. Our last round is about the gear, the hardware. The original had gear that absolutely is iconic. The proton pack, the ghost trap, the PKE meter. They're simple, they look functional, and they feel like they have some real dangerous weight to them. Even the famous No Ghost logo has an origin that feels natural to the story. The remake, though, in its quest to be bigger, just throws in more stuff. It introduces a bunch of new, very gimmicky weapons like a ghost punching glove, proton pistols, and ghost grenades. And while you might make the argument that the gadgets are cool, they do feel unearned and more like something out of a superhero movie, kind of watering down what made the franchise unique. It's kind of like the filmmakers thought that more gadgets automatically makes a better movie, and that just wasn't the case. This more is more attitude also applies to the ghosts. In that original film, they used puppets and practical effects, which gave the spirits a creepy physical presence. Slimer and the library ghost are scary because they feel like they're actually there. The 2016 movie's ghosts are a swarm of bright, clean, colorful CGI. They look a lot less like terrifying specters than they do Saturday morning cartoon characters. Artistry and the scare factor of the original's effects gets kind of lost in this sea of polished, weightless computer graphics. Before we end this one up, though, I do have to make an honorable mention and talk about the legacy continuing, because while that 2016 film struggled to honor the original, in my opinion, the franchise has since seen a far better continuation with the Ghostbusters Afterlife and Frozen Empire. They're not perfect films by any means, but they serve as an honorable mention for how to do it right, do it better. Instead of a hard reboot, they are these direct sequels that respectfully build on the original's foundation. Afterlife brought back Gozer, making the ancient god feel like an even more intense threat while centering the story on genuine, relatable characters who discover their place in the world. Both of these films, in my opinion, succeed by returning to the franchise's roots, mixing heartfelt character moments with legitimate scares. They even brought back the practical effects for creatures like the terror dogs, which were created using these massive 450-pound animatronics to give them this terrifying physical presence on set. These newer films, they feel like a part of the world that was originally created, proving to be a much more worthy successor to the Ghostbusters legacy. After 5 rounds, I think we have a winner. And normally I kind of like to try and play it vague with these remake rumbles and then not give my winner until the end of the video. But man, it was just a no-brainer for this one. You can give that 2016 film credit for its visual effects. The finale is definitely colorful and it's action-packed, but that one strength doesn't really make up for its bigger problems. It's a film that confuses topping for homage, noise for comedy, and spectacle for substance. The 1984 Ghostbusters is a classic, and not just because of its plot, which the remake copied, but because of its soul, which it couldn't. The magic was a special blend of perfect casting, a unique tone that had balanced scares with sarcasm, and a script that knew how to be smart and weird at just the right moments. And as films like Afterlife and Frozen Empire have shown, a legacy can be continued with respect and creativity. But the 2016 remake remains a cautionary tale for Hollywood. You can buy the name, you can copy the scenes, and you can spend a fortune on special effects, but you cannot manufacture charm. Talking to you, Lucasfilm, and you can never, ever recapture lightning in a bottle. The original is still the undisputed champ. But those are my opinions. I want to know what you think. Is the 2016 remake an underrated gem, or did it deserve to get slimed by the critics? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this little showdown, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next Remake Rumble. I really enjoy doing these ones. I think they're fun. Also, let me know what you would like to see in the next Remake Rumble, if there's a reboot that you think is better than the original. But that is all I got for you guys today. Y'all stay geeked. I'm out, and be smooth.